And are we just, okay, sounds good. Okay, I might just take it down because I'm short. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Lessie Skiba, and I am the Deputy Managing Director at the Cyber Readiness Institute. And I'll give you a little background about the Cyber Readiness Institute. I also wear a couple other hats, so if you see my name popping around as well, I am Chief of Staff for a company called NetRise. So I stay quite busy with the nonprofit and with NetRise. So just a little bit of background about CRI. We are a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 2017 under the Obama administration, where there was a private-public commission that was meant to address cybersecurity gaps within the United States. One of those gaps that was addressed was the lack of resources for small and medium-sized businesses. So some of the large industry partners that were at that commission decided to address this gap and found the Cyber Readiness Institute. So some of our founding members were ExxonMobil, Principal Financial, MasterCard, and Microsoft. We are still funded by Microsoft and MasterCard today and supported by a number of other organizations, including Apple and T-Mobile. They are supportive of our mission, but no longer technically funding us. But our whole goal is to provide free and accessible resources for small and medium-sized businesses by focusing on what they can actually do and actions that they can take without spending a significant amount of money on technology and other things that, yes, they could be great, but a lot of times small and medium-sized businesses don't even know where to start. They don't have it configured properly. It doesn't even matter if they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that technology if they don't have their policies and procedures in place. So our whole goal is to take practical steps to prevent cyber attacks by focusing on 4 core issues, which I'll talk about in a moment, and knowing what to do if and when an incident occurs. And we'll get into water utilities in a moment, but in general, we focus on the people, making sure everyone within an organization understands their role as it relates to cybersecurity, and focus on that triangle of people, process, and technology. Enforce policies with technology, and obviously people are generally the weakest link, and no matter how much technology you have in place, if someone is still clicking on things that they shouldn't be clicking on, answering the phone and sending out financial information, it's going to be a problem. So our goal is to embed cyber readiness into how every person does their job, develop good cyber habits, and again, create that culture of cyber readiness. So just a brief overview of what our program is. We have our flagship online program called the Cyber Readiness Program that's focused on those core 4 issues. And we have a separate certification called the Cyber Leader Certification that dives a little bit deeper into change management and ways to handle some pushback from leadership and potentially difficult employees. From there, we also have our Cyber Coach certification, which is going to be quite important because that is really what has made a difference in the water utility program we ran. But that is a certification that the coach goes through the Cyber Readiness Program. They don't necessarily have to be a cybersecurity expert, but they go through the Cyber Readiness Program, go through our coaching program, and then can go out and work with companies. So in addition to our online flagship Cyber Readiness Program, we also have a verification. So that is essentially us saying, yes, these companies have met these minimum requirements of the core 4 issues. Yes, they have an incident response plan, and I'll talk a bit more about our playbook later, but that we have confirmed that they don't just say that they have it, but they've actually implemented and trained all of their employees on these policies and procedures. So the core 4 issues that we have are passwords, software updates, phishing, and secure storage and file sharing. These are obviously very simple. Most people in this room would think that this is something that most businesses would already have buttoned up, but you would be quite surprised that a lot of times people still have those 8-character passwords and no multi-factor authentication, or they have legacy systems that don't support that. But they have no technology to back that up. Software updates. I do a lot of work internationally. There's often problems with not using licensed software, or potentially, again, that legacy system that can't be updated to the most recent version. So that's something else that we talk about throughout the program. If for some reason you can't do the software update, how are you air gapping or putting things in security controls in place to help your business still operate? Obviously, phishing, we all know it's getting better with AI. I'm not going to dive into that. And then secure storage and file sharing. Most of us don't use USBs anymore, especially in the US, but there are still a lot of small businesses when they're like transferring large files, financial information, you name it, with water utilities. I know that I'll talk about a case study in a moment, but they used USBs often just for updating software and other things like that, which feels like you're taking a step back into the Stone Age, but it still is very relevant. But in general, we try to discourage the use of it and only in specific cases. So what are we doing with water utilities? We did a pilot that started in 2023 that was sponsored by Microsoft and supported by FDD, the Federal Defense of Democracies. Mark Montgomery, I believe, is speaking later. He was a huge supporter of this pilot. And we found that we had a little bit of trouble getting utilities to sign up for this because there is a trust factor here. And I'll talk more about how we got around that and how we actually ended up getting utilities to sign up for this in a moment. But this pilot also was included in the White House National Cybersecurity Workforce Strategy, which is very exciting. And we still are partnering with the White House on certain initiatives related to critical infrastructure and water utilities specifically. And again, we built this all around our core 4 issues. And the huge differentiator was that we didn't just provide this online program for utilities. There's so many online resources out there. Similar to other nonprofits that are out there, we decided, hey, we need to provide a coach for these. And that's really where we saw the difference. And I'll talk specifically about what made that difference in a minute. So some of the results from this pilot program that wrapped up, and if you're interested in taking a deeper dive, you can find the research report on our website, cyberreadinessinstitute.org. But we had 89 utilities that expressed interest and 59 that started the program. We only had 35 utilities completely go through the program, which is crazy. People are always saying, oh, we need more resources. We need more free things that are accessible. We give a free thing, a free program, and we still don't get signups, right? And we had the support of Water ISAC. We had the support of NRWA. We had the support of AWWA. They were all letting people know that this program was free and available to use. And it comes down to a trust issue, which is where the coach piece came into play significantly. Having someone that a utility could go to and ask questions about, where do I even start, right? That made a huge difference. I like to talk about it like having a personal trainer in the gym. They'll hold you accountable. They're not going to do the work for you. So you still have to put in the effort. You still have to go and create those policies and train your employees. But having the coach there to bounce ideas off of and give you a structure around how to move through your cyber readiness journey is really what we saw making a huge difference in this. Since we closed the pilot, we did turn it into an ongoing program. So if there are any water utilities in here, or you work with either a city, state, municipality, you name it, that has a water utility that's small and maybe doesn't necessarily, or you might not know how their cyber readiness is, feel free to go visit our website and sign up for the program, or pass it along to anyone that you might know that would be interested. And because Microsoft is still funding this, we do provide coaches for free as well. So what actually worked? Empowerment over complexity. We talk a lot about adding technology into things. AI is such a buzzword. In the case study I'll talk about in a moment. The woman that was the cyber leader was told by her upper leadership that she needed to start figuring out some AI automations. She took a step back and she was like, we don't even have software update policies in place. Or so why would I start enabling AI automations when we don't have the fundamentals done? So going through the program, she's now working on that AI automation piece now that she's got the people side and the policy side in place, which I think will be great. Hopefully will free up some more of her time. Additionally, coaches scale much better than manuals. I mentioned before, there's so many resources out there for small utilities, small businesses, you name it. But people don't actually know where to start. They don't want to go just read a PDF, right? They don't want to just go through an online program. They want someone to tell them what they need to do and to work with them and be that partner and hold them accountable as they're going through it. They might not necessarily want that, but it is effective. And cyber leaders are a universal role. One of the questions we had going into this pilot was, will the cyber readiness program still be applicable to small and medium-sized water utilities? The answer was yes, because they have very similar and a lot of the same problems that any small and medium-sized business would have. Lack of resources, lack of expertise, lack of time. So many people are wearing multiple different hats that they can't just focus on their job. They're also having to have multiple different types of jobs that go under that umbrella. And then free tools require trusted delivery. I mentioned that we were supported by Water ISAC, AWWA, and NRWA, which AWWA is the American Water and Wastewater Association. Water, yes, thank you. And NRWA, the National Rural Water Association. And part of the reason we were able to get in front of people was because they were encouraging some of the businesses that had come to them asking for resources that we were a trusted entity. Because a lot of people come and try to provide a free service, and then there's some catch to it. Our service is truly free, the coach is free, the program's free. Now, if you need to go add technology on top of that, that is where obviously a cost would come in. But since we don't provide the technology, we don't provide technology recommendations outside of maybe a password manager and other things like that, we are happy to say that it is what it is. At face value, you get what you get. So that was something that we kind of struggled with, especially given that there have been other programs that these smaller utilities had experienced, and they just didn't want to deal with that hook at the end. So now that we've gotten in the door and our partnership with Water ISAC is public as of about a month ago, we've started having multiple different rural water associations reach out to us directly to provide training, to provide coaching, to provide just webinars on awareness to these smaller utilities that sometimes are also operated under the city, and they don't necessarily have their own office. It might just be the mayor that's also running the water utility, which that is something that I had no idea about before we started this. But those really small utilities, they don't know what they don't know, and we need to tell them how they can at least cover their fundamentals. And so now we'll talk a brief bit about our East Rio Hondo Water Supply Corporation case study. We did a panel discussion at RSA with the administrator of the East Rio Hondo Water Supply, along with Microsoft, to talk about some of the lessons learned, some of her experience going through the program. And I would say one of the biggest takeaways, and it was really interesting to hear her talk about it, because we do this program. I have run cybersecurity trainings for quite a while now, but understanding that truly the issues that our small businesses are facing are the same as water utilities was just so apparent when talking to Amanda Sanchez. And before starting this program, they had basic cybersecurity in place, but not anything that was actually documented. They had an outsourced IT team that they just expected to do everything. They didn't actually take a step back and ask, well, what are you actually providing for me? Who's responsible in the event of an incident? Am I going to be at fault if this happens? None of those questions were really asked prior to her going through this program. And in addition to our program, we also have guides talking about third-party risk and things like that. So identifying how to work with vendors and safely work with vendors. So she found all of those resources quite useful. And I guess one of my favorite quotes in this was, she said she went from a 30% of cyber readiness to a 90%. Your risk is never zero. And I'm really glad she didn't say 100% because that would have been completely unrealistic. And then I also liked that she said this program isn't about turning you into a cybersecurity expert. It's about giving you and your staff the tools to recognize and prevent threats before they become incidents. And I think that's really what the idea is with these water utilities is we know that there are threats out there. We know that there are countries, bad actors that are probably there lurking. I think the last presentation was talking quite a bit about that. We know they're there. How are we going to mitigate risks or mitigate incidents once they actually happen? How do we get back up on our feet and move forward? So that's one of the big things with the cyber readiness program is having that incident response plan that you know what to do if and when that incident occurs. So I'll just briefly talk through what it looks like for a utility to become a cyber ready certification or cyber ready certified organization. So the policies must match our requirements. They must complete our prioritization tool and software update tool, which is essentially an inventory tool so people know what they have and how much of a device or how many laptops they have, how many servers they have, what software they're using. Additionally, they must have an incident response plan. And this all sounds pretty intimidating for small and medium-sized utilities, but we provide the templates and we hold their hand as they're developing these. And then we also require an attestation that is signed by not only the cyber leader that is going through this program, but the upper leadership, whether it's CEO or whatever president of the organization must also sign to ensure that, yes, the training did happen. And here is just a little playbook guide that goes along with the playbook that walks through how to complete the playbook. So for individuals or utilities that are going through the program that didn't necessarily want or know that they had the option to have a coach, this is something that can function similar to that. And we try to encourage anybody that's going through the program to keep that playbook as a living, breathing document. And so anytime that there's people that change or technology that changes, that they update this playbook. So one thing to note about the playbook and one of the results of the pilot as well is where we do have water utilities, or we know that water utilities have some of the same issues that small businesses have. There obviously are some differences, especially with OT. So we worked with a couple of different OT specialists to develop an addendum to our playbook that is focused specific on water utilities. So that is also available for anyone that is in the industry and interested in checking that out. And if you have feedback on any of these materials, we are constantly updating them and revising them. So the more information we have as a nonprofit, the better. We're looking for experts on a regular basis to lean on and help give us feedback. And lastly, Cyber Readiness Institute is not the end-all be-all. We know that it is a stepping stone to some of those more sophisticated certifications and frameworks like NIST, ISO 2700. Oftentimes, if we're talking about companies that are looking to partner with other larger organizations, this is a great stepping stone to those procurement requirements as well. And I will end on, this is not something that CRI can do alone. We need both governments and businesses to collaborate to make sure that utilities are aware of this. There's incentive to protect themselves and that they know that they really have a duty to protect their organization, to help protect the economy and people and everyone as a whole. So if you're interested in signing up, here's the QR code. It'll send you directly to our water utilities specific page. And I will take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Any questions? Question here.
First of all, Lessie, let me say thank you. I'm co-chair of the Water ISAC Cybersecurity Committee. So I really appreciate the outreach that CRI is doing for the community. It's good to see that we're through the pilot phase and ready to go into the next phase of things. And I will say that Water ISAC stands ready to help in any way that we can to put this out there and push the ball forward. So I just want to make that statement. So thank you.
Thank you. You and Jennifer Walker have been fantastic partners.
Any questions?
I'm okay with that. Well, thank you.
Okay, well, great. Thank you very much, Leslie.